All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Hope everybody is doing well. Heading into, as we get into these colder months, right? December and January coming up. You know what's going down. What's going down is some late fall, early winter stocking. I get a lot of questions all the time about what fish are being stocked, where and when, and how many, and all that. So I want to do a video really quickly because just got some stocking done this week. In Western Maryland and in Central Maryland. So I just want to go through the stocking plan of what actually went down here in the last 7 days. Okay, and you can always access the Maryland State Stocking Activities map. Reach out to me if you are having any problems locating the map. I'll shoot you a link. It's really, really informative. There's a lot of stuff on the back end of a lot of the state DNRs and DWRs that most people, you really don't get to. It's always a link inside another page, so it can get cumbersome. But I can shoot you that link for anyone who wants it, so they'll always have it on their phone and they can look and see what's going on. So we're going to start. The biggest, obviously, trout stocking of December is going to be Deep Creek Lake, stocked on the 7th. Okay, that's this week, mates. Okay, that's how current it is. Okay, 2 days ago, 4,000 rainbow trout stocked in Deep Creek Lake. After that, we've got right nearby. Obviously, Deep Creek Lake is Garrett County, Maryland, mates, Western Maryland. Right next to that, you've got the Savage Wildlife. You've got the Savage Reservoir. The 9th. Okay, there you go. 3,000 rainbow and golden trout stocked today. Going down at the Savage Reservoir in the Savage Wildlife Park area. After that, you've got two 2,500s, obviously in the western part of the county. Still, we're going to be Savage is Garrett County as well. We're going to stick right here in Washington and Greenbrier towards the middle here. We'll get to that. Town Creek is Allegheny County. Town Creek's kind of up here, if I remember correctly. Sliding Hill Creek. Let's see if I can't find Town Creek for you. It's not going to be a big bubble, unfortunately, mates. Town Creek. There we go. 2,000 rainbow trout stocked yesterday in Town Creek. We've got Piney Run. We're going to head towards the, we're going to go east from here. We've got Piney Run. Piney Run Reservoir, 2 days ago, was stocked with 1,000 more rainbow. So it's got a pretty good sequential stocking plan in Piney Run. Piney Run is now closed in terms of accessing the reservoir until spring. That closed down on the last day of November. They extended the season until November. Usually it closes down in like early October. So they did extend the season for some bass fishing, which was actually really, really good the last week of November, as well as along with some striper fishing. Hopefully you check those videos out. So Piney Run got stocked with 1,000 more. And then we've got, I believe, Greenbrier Lake, stocked 2 days ago with 2,500 rainbow and golden trout. We've got the Yak over here in, probably up in the corner of the state. The Yak, that's going to be Garrett as well. Yep, yesterday, 1,000 brown trout. So 1,000 brown trout were stocked there. And then we've got Blair's Valley, which was stocked with all three, which would probably be that one right there. Blair's Valley Lake. There it is. After a while, you keep doing this, you pretty much know where they are, you know, when you've been to them repeatedly. 12/8, that was yesterday. 2,500 rainbow, golden, and brown trout. So that is all of the trout that's been stocked. 16,000 trout, okay, coming from the Maryland hatcheries, fish hatcheries, okay, have been stocked in Maryland's lakes just this month. We're only 9 days into the month. So, quick series heads up for the new year. We are going to be visiting every hatchery in Maryland in 2023 in the spring. We're going to go in, we're going to get permissions, we're going to get everything, maybe do some interviews, be able to visit these hatcheries and be able to communicate back to the audience which fish are being raised in these hatcheries, which lakes these actual fish are going to when they are ready to go back into our lakes. And so it's going to be really exciting. It's a connection. It's kind of a bridge between our biology community, our conservation community, and us anglers. In terms of, we're going to do it for bass as well. Okay. Now Virginia has a little different tract and trajectory for the most part, because a lot of times they'll get their F1s, they'll get a bunch of bass from outside the state. So we'll find out where those hatcheries are potentially, and make sure that we get some dates planned to visit those hatcheries as well for all the bass anglers as well, especially the smallies. New smallies as well get stocked in the Upper Potomac, for example. So that's really what we're going to focus on in that series, is really just bridging the gap between the hatcheries and what goes on that side, as well as where are these fish ending up for us in terms of keeping our lakes and rivers and reservoirs sustainable, right? With population density. And so really that's what we're going to focus on. Hope everybody's enjoyed this. This kind of just gives you a snapshot really quickly of December. I'll do some more videos at the end of the year that will recap the entire year of 2022, where all of the fish went. Okay. So people can get an idea of, what's happening, and then also be able to understand these are the decisions that are getting made in Maryland. Okay. And we'll do the same thing in Virginia. And so you may have a lake and you may want to know why your lake's not on the list. And so that's a viable question to ask your DNR. And so when you get through and we basically just diagnose where all the stocking is going on. And then we can ask questions as to why these areas are not being stocked. Maybe the population density is already self-sustaining. Maybe it is fine. Maybe it is actually overabundant population that's impacting the fishery. That's the dialogue we want to start having with our community mates, with our DNR, our government, our conservation, our wildlife, and our hatcheries. It's like, be engaged in the process. So that's the direction this series on the channel is going to go to, is to keep you informed. You will also be able in 2023 to subscribe to the newsletter, okay, which will basically be a lot more information than I could ever disclose in a video, okay, on YouTube or on TikTok or any of that, for people that really want to know not only about our lakes and our rivers and our stocking plans, but also the issues with our lakes, obviously what's biting, the fishing reports, weekly fishing reports will go out in the newsletter if I don't do a video, the techniques, the tips, the guide information, the trips with guides with me and a guide, that you'll have the ability, if you're a subscriber to the newsletter, to be able to come on a trip with me with a guide, no cost to you. If you belong with the newsletter, if you're in the newsletter group, as well as our private group for smallmouth. So a lot of things are going to go down in 2023 that we're really, really excited about. We've got the growth here on the channel. We've got the dialogue and engagement. We've got everything now. We just want to get a lot more feedback in terms of the direction that everybody really wants this channel to go into. Different from all the others. We're not really a podcast channel yet. There's a lot of guys in the region that do really great, lane podcasts, like Susquehanna Fishing Tackle for the shop. It's a great, great podcast. DM Fishing the DMV. It's a great podcast for just what's going on in the DMV area, Virginia and Maryland, with with guests from DNR, guests from guide guests, things like that. Really good podcasts that really we don't want to we want those to grow, okay, on their own. organically, and don't need to like do the same stuff, right? We want to focus on other things, more on the water things, more float trips, more camp trips, more like cooker on the riverbank, bank fishing, wade fishing, obviously kayak fishing, and as well as our tournament coverage. That's basically what we're going. So this is the trout side of it, for those people that are interested in that. And the reason why, I know I got a question from a mate. It was like, man, you do a lot of smallmouth coverage, but why are you covering the trout stuff? Because mates, the trout end up becoming the forage for our smallmouth and our largemouth bass. Okay, inevitably they become forage species in a lot of our lakes and reservoirs. Okay, and so that's why it's important to really know what the stocking plans are. Okay, it's not that you're out necessarily fishing for trout, but a lot of us do that as well in certain times of the year, but also these become forage species. And then the next year, we're going to get into how can we introduce bait fish? How can we get back to introducing forage species into our lakes and reservoirs to grow the bait fish populations? Okay, which will make and grow our smallmouth and largemouth populations. Okay, because they have that feed source. We've seen that introduction of bait fish like blueback herring and shad and shiners and stuff in different different time frames of the history and in different areas. But really, really get a dedicated, dialed in forage species type program, which is hard to gauge because obviously no one's catching the bait fish, right? Okay, so it's like, again, they've got to allocate their money the way they need to allocate it, which is sport fishing, which is like making sure that we have strong bass population, strong smallmouth, strong striper in the bay, or in some of our reservoirs. Those are the kind of things. So we're going to create that dialogue with one another, then we can collectively form our group. And then once we have our group together next year, we'll do some meetups or do some Zoom calls with our group that we now can be an advocate for what we want in terms of legislation in Annapolis, legislation in Richmond, okay, legislation in Harrisburg, right? That's really what you want. You want to have a voice, but you got to educate. We got to all be educated first and understand these programs where they're at today, so we can guide and shape them with feedback from an angler perspective on how things that we would like to see and work with our government agencies to make happen. Even if it's on our side, like myself, for next year, doing some charity event, fundraising events, things like that we want to do to raise money for cleanups, for upgrades, for kayak launches, things like that at our facilities that may be kind of in decline, through funding, National Park Service along the Potomac River, things like that. So I hope everybody enjoys this series. I hope everybody, if you have any questions about the trout, any specific lakes or specific areas of the state that you want me, to give you a feedback on in terms of the stocking programs, just hit me up. J.L. Scott Fishing and Eats. You can hit me up on Messenger. You can comment on this video and the YouTube. We'll continue to do this, but this is just 1 weekend, 10 days into December. This is where we're at. 16,000 trout now stocked in our Maryland fisheries. All right, mates.